Okay, so let me share this real quick here, and you can tell me if it's working. Okay, can you guys?
Yes.
Thank you, perfect, thank you. I need verbal confirmation because I can't see anybody's faces, anyone's face. So thank you very much for attending the Research Development Opportunity Kickoff. Today, for those of you who don't know, these are solicitation-based meetings that bring faculty together to discuss a particular solicitation, hopefully slightly in advance of that solicitation dropping and or right after it's dropped. We are very lucky to have had this opportunity, the NASA Early Career Faculty Award, recently released. So extremely lucky in that we could review it and look at the topics, and we'll talk a little bit more about how that works going forward. But it just was released and is available on Inspires. So this is what we're going to do for today. We're going to kind of go over these pieces of the proposal development process. And at the end, we're going to talk a little bit to the 3 prior awardees who are in attendance. So I'll let them introduce themselves when we get there. So for this, I believe it's Keith. Is that correct, or is it?
There was not a name on this one, so it could be either of us.
Keith, I'm gonna give it to you.
Okay, so NASA has 4 primary directorates that work with, it goes beyond this, but in terms of the solicitations that we're looking at, we're focused on the Space Technology Mission Directorate for the ECF. Of also possible interest is the Science Mission Directorate, which we'll go into on the next slide. So the Science and Space Technology Directorates both release omnibus bills. Science is called Roses, Space Technology is Ready. And what they do is they release a solicitation once a year that kind of gives the guidelines for the rest of their solicitations for the rest of the year, which are called appendices. And so the ECF is an appendices to Ready for space technology. Roses is very science-based, hence it's coming from the Science Directorate. Ready is more engineering focused on the technology side. And you can kind of see the background and how those operate there. And I think now I'm handing off to Scott on the next slide already.
There. So yes, the Space Technology Mission Directorate has a lot of things that opportunities that around early stage technology readiness, early career faculty. There is a technology readiness scale, if you're not familiar with it, from 1 to 9. 1 being close to a paper napkin version, 9 being something that's actually flown to space. We love to take things that are on the paper napkin side of the world, partner with folks that have the space science expertise, so they understand the environment, so as long as your physics works from a technology perspective, we can tell you whether it would work in a science, in an actual environment arena, and help craft messaging to support what NASA is looking for. And this is a slide from NASA, this STMD. This is kind of their programmatic areas that they're looking for: in situ resource utilization, cryogenic fluid management, commercial lunar payloads services. From us at New Space, we are looking at ways and means that we can get different payloads onto lunar landers. There is a whole lunar surface innovation consortium focused on power, dust mitigation, in situ resource utilization around the moon. All of this is leading the pathway from moon to Mars, for advancing exploration.
So I mentioned before the appendices. These are the different programs that are available through Ready. Obviously, the focus here is on the ECF award. Having some awareness of what's coming out what else is part of Ready can help you long term. So those are kind of the programs. A lot of them are industry focused or require partnerships with industry. But this also provides a timeline for when those come out and can be useful probably more later in your career as you develop those connections with NASA and in space technology. And then a couple of insights on the awards. This is predominantly an engineering award. 68 of the 70 awards in its program history have been made to engineers or computer scientists. All 4 of ASU's awards have been in engineering. And then you can kind of see the breakdown there on the right of what areas of engineering they're interested in. Obviously, those are solicitation specific. The first year or 2 did not have topics, but the last 5 years have had topics. So again, that's kind of directed by what their current interests are. So the big issue, the big thing to keep in mind is they're looking for somebody to solve a problem. And we go to the next slide. The top universities that have more experience with NASA tend to win more. Illinois has a strong, doesn't rank as high, but they have strong engineering, computer science. But those other universities all have strong relations with NASA. But then when we look at overall what the ECF provides, go ahead and click, Faye. They do make awards to a wide range of schools. They're looking for researchers who can solve their problems. So like that nano engineering researcher who won came from North Carolina A&T, not prominent with NASA. So they're looking for good ideas to solve their problems, their technical problems. And that's what the focus of the award is.
Thanks, Keith. So just an overview of these, they're relatively small dollar. I mean, depends on kind of what you want to spend the money on, but lots of attention. It's a door into NASA. It's an early career mark. And then this is also where I think at some point it states this is where the pool of PCASE awardees and nominees come from. So this is a very highfalutin notoriety type of award. But that being said, you must be untenured and or on the tenure track. And if that changes, you are ineligible at that point. You must be a US citizen or have lawful status of permanent residency no later than August 1st. So of the proposal submission. So that's August 1st of this year. And then you can't be a former PCASE recipient because this is your pool. This is their pool. And PCASE is really to recognize people by sponsor who have really contributed heavily or are rising stars. It's a really great award. It's again, you want to kind of add that to your chain of accolades going forward. So just to give you an idea, one of the things that Keith said was that it's really topic driven. And for the last couple of solicitations, again, you see that they're very different topics. It is really driven by what they're interested in, what they want to solve, how are they going forward with specific programs. I'll give you a minute to look at these. And then the topics for this year are very specific yet again. So if you don't see your topic or you haven't seen it over time, it is worthwhile knowing about the mechanism and understanding how to submit and go forward, because next year's topics might look a little bit different. And you might become, as a result of this experience, go and look more at what NASA has as part of their strategy guide, their documents, and Ready in particular, what they're looking at and solving the next couple of years. And that should inform kind of if you want to pursue a topic-driven solicitation such as this. So while these are very specific, we did send it out to physics and SEMT to let that group know. So this is the submission documentation. Again, it's pretty, I mean, it's hugely competitive, and the panel of awardees can tell you exactly what they prepared. But in total, it's a very small submission, right? So it has to be really tight, really competitive, really compelling in a lot of ways. But that kind of gives you what is required in the next step. And in terms of timeline, just so you can prep and get yourself ready, is this is the kickoff. The notice of intent really is just I'm going to do this, is due February 24th. And then your next deadline is going to be that ORSPA internal deadline of March 19th for those 11, 12 pages that I just presented to you. So at this point, if you are considering pursuit, then please let your research advancement manager or person know, because then they can prepare you for all the documents and internal reviews that are required. If not, last year's timeline was almost exactly this. So if you're thinking about next year, start planning around February for another kickoff. This is very easy for us to do and bring these groups together. So we're happy to do it again next year. It's part of the plan. If you decide to do this or other projects or proposals, I just want to point out that proposal editing is available for manuscripts and proposals. You just have to get in their queue. It is a really great free service that you can avail yourself of. And with that, I'm going to transition over to Scott for a little description about NewSpace. If you're not familiar with NewSpace, Scott's our person.
Thank you, Faye. Next slide. And I was unable to rapidly update this while I was on another Zoom meeting. But NewSpace, ASU NewSpace is one of the 12, I think, knowledge enterprise strategic initiatives and institutes around campus. Ours is focused on engagement with the commercial space industry, primarily the emerging entrepreneurial commercial space industry, and getting them involved in the campus community. So opportunities like this, we work with faculty to get, some knowledge of and interaction with some of these industry members that have interest in the topics that you're responding to, and also provide letters of commitment. All of these early stage opportunities, I think the companies have interest in what you're doing, because they think there's probably something there that they could benefit from in terms of a larger opportunity further down the road. And it's best that we have ASU's faculty alongside of them as they go after bigger projects and as you advance your technology. Next slide. So we've been around for about 5 years, and I was going to update this slide. There's over 300 space investigators that we've interacted with over the campus, all over the campus, from WP Carey to School of Life Sciences, heavy School of Earth and Space Exploration, obviously heavy in the schools of engineering. Our director is Jim Bell. Jim Bell is about to land not himself, but with JPL and NASA. Jim Bell has a camera on the next Mars rover that will be landing in the next 10 days. He does all the camera operations. If you're familiar with ISTB4, there will be a lot of people interacting on Mars time in Mission Operations Center. And, Mars is slightly different than Earth time, so they will be there all weird times over the next time. But with Jim on board, and we have hired a new research scientist, Jim Rice. Can't get enough Jim. So we have opportunities to help, work with you, either with an industry partner or work with you on, I want to do this, but I'm not sure about the space environment. These guys know the solar system, the radiation effects, and they've also had tremendous success in NASA proposals themselves. They understand what NASA is looking for. They can help guide your proposal writing a little bit in terms of how to respond to NASA's needs. I think that's all my slides.
That is, thank you. So we have recent awardees on the call, and this is kind of an open discussion with them. I'm going to ask them to go in the opposite direction, I think, than the slide deck has them. So we're going to lead with Matt, go to Yuji, and then Yang. And they're going to just tell you their name, their experience, and some high-level recommendations. I'm not going to share anymore. I will say that I will update the slide deck with current NewSpace content when provided. That's all on me. I apologize for that. So with that, Dr. Green.
Thanks. Yeah. So I won the 2018 Early Career Faculty Award. The topic that year that I won under was carbon dioxide removal assemblies using ionic liquids. So it was really specific, like everybody's mentioned. And basically, and yes, they're looking for good ideas, but they're looking for good ideas that solve that particular problem. So if you have great ideas, but they don't mesh with the topic list, my recommendation would be don't waste your time with an application. And the other thing I think that's important to know is who your audience is in terms of the reviewers. And so these proposals are reviewed by NASA scientists and contractors. And so as best you can, learning the NASA jargon is pretty important. And that means maybe going to some unconventional literature sources. So conference proceedings, the ICES conference is one place where you see tons of NASA related research being discussed and published that I'd never heard of before being exposed to this program. And so that's a really valuable place to go to see what technology exists. You know, learn a lot about the NASA technology that you can read from the solicitation what they're trying to do, right? And so you can go and see what's actually being done by companies and other researchers in that area. And I give full credit to Scott for pointing me in that direction. So I had it was a 5, 10, 15-minute phone call with Scott, and really that I think steered me in the direction of writing the proposal that ultimately won. Just learning the language, learning where to look, where these folks read papers, where conferences they go to was really important, because I think it helped me shape the proposal in a way that was recognizable to these NASA scientists. So if you can, get on Scott's calendar for a quick call before applying for this solicitation. Sorry, Scott. I'll pass it over to Yuji.
Okay, so hi everyone. This is Yuji Zhao here. I'm an associate professor of electrical engineering at ASU. I actually have a very nice story about the ECF award. I joined ASU in 2014, and then I think in August, so I write maybe 6 proposals in 2014, and I won several of them. And this very luckily, this ECF award is the first eternal award I got from ASU, so it's wonderful. So you know, when I first write a proposal, you know, I don't really know what's going on. So I just see the topic that year. They want a high temperature solar cell can work at 300 to 500 degrees C. And the material I work on is gallium nitride. It's a wide bandgap semiconductor and naturally suitable for high temperature operations. So I go ahead, submit a proposal, and address all the challenges. So I think one of the first thing I would say is whenever you write this proposal, you want to make sure you are right on the topic, and what you propose is exactly what they want. And you know, and all the NASA, what I see is they're like no nonsense guys. So if you have this gap there, you're trying to you know, get there, it's not going to work. You want to be very directly address the challenges. The innovation and the proposal should be, you know, very clearly has the, you know, no question there should be addressed their challenges. So this is the first suggestion I have. If you think there is a gap there, you know, you should not try this. The second thing I think it's very nice is after, you know, winning this award, one of the requirement, I think this still is the requirement, is you go to NASA every year, you know, to their collaboration lab centers. So there's different centers. The Center for Space and Energy and Power, it's in the NASA Glenn Research Center. It's in Cleveland. So as a requirement, I go there quite often, once every year, sometimes twice. And they actually have a mentor over there. It's a scientist that you can work with and coordinate with. I think this is very nice because, you know, you get to know the people there, you get to know what they want. And this will open doors for you. In the end, I actually get another NASA award on the hot tech program, which is also high temperature related. So once you won the career award, this open doors for you for NASA, and you have opportunity to engage NASA scientists and others, in more close relationship, and then you can build on these relations, and you know what they are doing, you know what they are thinking, and you have opportunity to develop your own program with them. So it's very nice. And the last thing I think, overall, I think this is a very good opportunity. I would say the money is good. It's 200K. It's much better than NSF career. And so it's, again, I think if the topic is a very good fit, you should definitely try it. I think that's the major limitation there, because they want to find people that really, like Matt said, is contribute to their missions. They want something they can be used in a few years for their missions and others. So you really want to tie your technology to their mission as well. I think that's all for me. Yeah.
All right. Hi, I'm Yong. I'm Sizhen Yong. I just go by Yong. I'm an assistant professor in mechanical and aerospace engineering. And I won this ECF last year on the topic of coordinated multi-robots for planetary exploration. So yeah, I guess being here is a good first step of trying to, I guess, pursue this. Actually, I missed it and I just listened to the recording. So if you're listening to the recording now, that it's still helpful. And I think when I first saw the topic, I really wasn't even sure whether I wanted to do this. So my advice here might slightly differ from what Yuji and Matt were saying. So when I first looked at it, because I never had any projects related to space applications, I wasn't even sure whether my work really fits into the topic. So I wasn't sure. But I would say that what both Matt and Yuji said is true, that you do have to really specifically answer the questions that they want. So you would have to read the solicitation properly. And I didn't really have all the knowledge I needed. I just spent a lot of time reading on those things to make sure that I'm actually answering the questions. And I guess I was lucky enough that because of COVID, our deadline was postponed by a month, which gives me a lot more time to read up on the stuff that I really don't know that much about. And so I guess you can still target them, but you have to do a lot of reading. The thing is that, like, this year, there's no more topics on robotics. And I guess you just never know when it will come and when your next opportunity is going to be. And I guess going through the process might help you understand how things work in the first place, and maybe it makes it easier the next time. But definitely answer the questions, I guess, or the topics that you want. You have to kind of guess what is it that they wanted. In my specific case, I guess I just looked at the topic, it sounded interesting, so I just had an idea, which I wasn't sure whether it fits or not. And thankfully, I guess it turns out that it was something that they wanted. And out of the 3 awards in this topic, there's actually 2 of us that has something related to tethered robots, which I never thought was something that they really wanted. But it turns out that my idea was the one that they would kind of fit what they wanted. And actually, my program manager, or the mentor, said that, well, actually, he thought that maybe he didn't write the solicitation properly either, in the sense that he was thinking about something slightly different from what he wrote. But he said that my proposal really answered that question of what was written in the solicitation. So that was something that was in my favor, I guess. So I think as long as you follow what they wanted in that solicitation, then that would be really exactly what they wanted. And I guess just like Matt was saying, I guess Scott is definitely a very, very good resource. You definitely should talk to him. So in my case, I guess, as I say, I wasn't sure And then the deadline for the NOI came, the notice of intent. So I just wrote something, I just submitted it. And then I contacted Scott, I sent him the NOI, he took a look at that and he said, oh, tethered robots. And then he connected me with someone from the industry, from the company called Tethered Unlimited, the CEO of that company. And so I had a conversation with him. Scott also connected me with 3 other CC faculty members that do stuff that's probably relevant to what I was writing in the NOI. So I spoke to them as well. All 4 of them wrote collaboration letters for me. And that was something that I guess in the review, they pointed out too, that I had some good collaborations. So Scott is be able, I guess there's probably a lot to ask from Scott, but he really hooked me up with all these people. He even arranged like for me to talk to them, and he's been like a constant resource, definitely to help me with that. So I guess I talked to a lot of different people. He even sent me links of like, I guess the space cohort type video that you can hear some of the people talking on some panels that I guess it's just good, different ways to find out more resource things that's relevant, and just to get, yeah, just get like what Matt is saying, I guess, familiarize ourselves with the jargon that people use, because you really need to target it to the topic, and it has to have I guess, space applications. They really want to solve a problem. So in my case, I guess I was a little vague maybe in terms of the application, because I wasn't too sure about all the applications, but reading all those stuff definitely helped. One thing to maybe also look at is that NASA also releases like a taxonomy every year that has all the topics that they are interested in for, I don't know whether they do it every year, but they do it every few years, I believe. And there are certain topics that are listed there with like a lot of details actually. So that's a way that you can maybe see what is it, how what you're interested in doing fits into that picture. And I think, well, one advice that I remember I got from Matt from last year was knowing about the TRL, which is the technology readiness level. So we need to very specifically address that as well, in terms of, I guess, where it starts and where it ends, and kind of address that. And I think the point is just to talk to a lot of different people and read a lot. So I Googled a lot and read a lot of different stuff. I was lucky to also have known some past awardees, not from ASU, that are kind of mentors of mine who did some things related to my work. So I guess I was able to talk to them as well and got their proposals and read it just to see how they write things and just try to do it that way. So that all of that definitely helped. What else in terms? Well, also one other tip is look up on the solicitation website. They will usually update it with a FAQ section. And in that FAQ section, at least in my year for my specific topic, there was someone who asked very specifically what is it that they are interested in. And I think it pointed to, I think someone asked about like what are some references that I guess answers, I mean, that refers to the things that they have in their mind. So there were a few papers that they posted the link to on that FAQ site. And I looked at them, I read them, and I tried to kind of relate, I guess, get the sense of what they want, and then very specifically target that thing. So I guess that's another way in terms of getting into their head, because they really have a picture in mind of what is it that they want. And I guess all those are good resources. What else? Yeah, I guess talk to different people, like all the CC faculty that Scott hooked me up with. Some of them even helped to review my proposal. I got help from Sunanda here, who is on the call, who was really helpful at reading my proposal as well and giving me feedback. And that has been tremendously helpful. And this is a Young Faculty Award. So ASU has also, I guess, resources for us to get figures done. So I asked for one figure, I guess, with someone that I've worked before. So that was also very helpful to have a figure that's somewhat more professional looking than what I just did on my own. So that was helpful. What else? I guess, yeah, I think the point is just to really dig into it and see, yeah, what are the problems that they have and what they want to solve, and very specifically target them. I
So
guess that's all I
that's,
have in mind.
yeah, that's great. That's perfect, Yong. Thanks. I want to break and have a moment to number one, acknowledge that Scott deserves a raise. Obviously.
It's not just Scott, it's New Space,
New space.
I just happen to have to go to all the meetings, so.
That's great. I also want to point out that we do have videos of all of the space cohort activities that we did last year, which was kind of an undertaking for our office, but we kept all of those recordings. And the idea was to bring engineers and space and earth scientists together. So a lot of the panel discussions and products that are there is to kind of translate between the two. Do any attendees have questions for our panelists today?
Before that, I have a quick thing I just remembered something. All the winners of ECF, the list of awardees are also on the website, on NASA website, and you can see like our quad charts, you can see our abstract, so you can maybe get a sense also of what is it that they like. I guess that's it for me.
I have a question. So when I think about writing a proposal to do research with NASA, I'm overwhelmed with imposter syndrome. So I'm curious what made you feel qualified to write a proposal to do research with NASA?
I can address that. I guess, yeah, I definitely have that imposter syndrome, and I probably still do have it a little bit because I've never done anything space related before. But I guess, as I mentioned, I had people, my collaborators and my mentors that are in my field that have won NASA awards before. And I don't think they have specifically done a lot related to space before as well. So they gave me some hope as to, at least there's a chance. Well, I still felt after submitting it, I don't know what my chances are, but it worked out. And I guess I also, as I was digging through the literature and try to find connections with what, my research, I guess I also found several papers related to some people that do a lot of space application type things that it's very similar to my background also to some extent. So I guess that kind of helped me. I can use that as a bridge towards getting towards what they want. So I guess that's how it worked out for me. I didn't think I was going to get it, but I guess you never know. And I think what Jim Bao would say is, think of it like a cluster bomb or something where you just, if you don't submit it anywhere, you won't get anything. So just send as many as you can to as many places, even though you don't think it's going to work. Something will work out eventually, hopefully. I guess that's all. That's my advice, I would say.
I would like to add that, I think, don't worry about the imposter syndrome because, NASA is looking at the innovation, they're looking at new opportunities, they're looking at non-traditional ways of doing things. Just as a simple example, I have an accounting degree and I am talking to folks at NASA. I'm talking to industry people in science and engineering. So there is that imposter syndrome when I started, but everyone is looking for innovation. ASU has got that innovation quote that goes around on everything. So I think it's the ideas. Does it fit with what they want? And can you keep the proposal from having any type of thing that would make them throw it out? Even a simple syntax error in your sentence they're looking for things to throw out proposals because they have so many.
And I would add too that your technical mentor at NASA is a huge resource in this project. If they're doing their job right, mine is awesome, and it sounds like Yuji's experience was similar, where the folks he's worked with at NASA are really in it to help you learn. You know, my first visit to Johnson Space Center, I learned so much, and it was awesome to get to walk around Johnson Space Center in and of itself, right? And he, in an hour walking through my technical mentors lab, I learned a ton. And it's so there certainly is a lot of on the job training that goes into this project. And I knew nothing about space technology, but what I did know a lot about was designing ionic liquid based systems, and I knew a lot about membrane separations, and I was able to apply that to a space technology application. And so I would, you know, get comfortable in your own science and your own work and figure out how you can apply that to NASA, but then make sure that you're specifically hitting the deliverables and the technology marks that they want, right?
Yeah, I also you know add on that. I think for me it could be easier because my materials it's naturally useful for power and you know for high temperature radiation. Though these are exactly what NASA want. But I think one suggestion, the first suggestion I gave is to look into your field to see how you can you know apply to NASA's application. Because this is what Matt said. In my case. I, you know, I did this nitride material, but it was for LED and lasers. But then I found out, you know, this material also can sustain very high temperature and it's radiation hardened, you know, this tied to the space application. So maybe there's some aspect in your research you didn't, you know, pay attention to, but, you know, they can be directly related to NASA's missions. The second suggestion I have is I think you just, you know, really want to try this new idea. Like Scott said, they are looking for innovations and new ideas. One thing I found out is NASA is keep very close pace on what's going on in the field. For example, you know, robotics is a big field, machine learning and those quantum technology. You know, they keep very close eyes on this new technology. So if your technology, you know, related to some of those. I think it's also gonna be very attractive to NASA because they want to leverage all the new things that are happening around. So yeah.
I'll point out that Sunanda and the graphic support for early career is available through engineering, and you might want to look locally if you have other school or department or college level resources, access those that are applicable to any proposal really. And Sunanda put her email in the chat. Other questions for this group? All really great advice. Okay.
I'm going to.
Sorry.
Go you.
Yeah. Sorry about that. How much of preliminary data that did you present? I mean, usually I think the preliminary data is quite important to prove your concept of work, right? So my concern is because my lab has not been ready yet. So when I write some sort of the proposal, I mean, with the idea, I always think about, I mean, if I can actually submit this proposal, because, you know, I have very limited resources. I do have idea, but I don't have data yet. I know some of these concepts should work based on my earlier experience, but, you know, just I don't have data to convince them. In that case, do you have any, suggestion to improve your proposal with limited data?
I have two thoughts on that. The preliminary data I used in my proposal actually came from my graduate work because that was the work that was most relevant. So, you know, if you have some older data that's relevant, then that I would say feel free to use that because it still demonstrates your capabilities. I think in general, you get something of a break the earlier you are in your tenure track for not having a ton of data. And then the older you get, or the farther you are along in the tenure track, you get less leniency. So just keep that in mind. But the other way to look at this is if you look at the last few years in the topic list, you can almost guarantee that the topics this year will not be on the list for probably 3 years because they've invested in this topic for a 3-year project. So if you've got a good idea and it fits and aligns, then you should apply because you're not going to get another chance for a few years.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah, I also want to add on what Matt said. I think for any of the proposal, the biggest thing is you want to prove, you want to persuade the reviewer that you are the right person to do the job.
Yeah.
You know, you have the right expertise, you have the right facility, you have the resources, and etc. I think, like I said, if there's a big gap there, then it will be hard to persuade them. But if you work on the same materials, and then you say I'm gonna use this material in other applications, you can put on relevant your experience on this material, and you can build on that. Or you have developed this unique approach, and you say you want to apply this new approach to this. I mean, these all make sense. So basically, you're pursuing, you're trying to tell them you are the right person and you have this expertise and facility to do so. Hopefully this help you.
Yeah, so actually I have submitted one concept paper to DOE a couple of weeks ago. And what I did was like what Matt suggested, like just use my some of my earlier data when I was a postdoc with permission of the the PI that I worked with. And also I was saying like the ASU does have the certain facility that I can utilize as a user. And I was saying like I'm in process to purchase this equipment and something like that. So I'm not sure how much those explanations would convince the reviewer of the concept paper, but I mean that's what I did. But I was just wondering if the way that I did was something that I should do, or if there's another way to back up the concept paper or proposal.
I guess I can add a little bit to that as well. I think I agree with everything that was said by Matt and also Yuji. Yeah, that prior work, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be exactly related to the space application, right? Since I mentioned I've never done anything related to that, it was something that was honestly a bit tangential. I mean, it's relevant, it's a different application. So I think adding those stuff helps. And like what you were saying, like adding people. So basically one thing you can do is you can pad your expertise by finding the right person to say that you have someone to consult, or someone that can be your collaborator that can kind of fill in the small gap that you might not have. I tried that. I'm not sure whether it's the thing that really tipped it and helped, but I've seen other people, or at least in one of my other collaborators, winning proposal for ECF as well, that they did that. So I thought, well, if they did that, and also leverage other people at ASU, which you guess if you talk to Scott, he will probably link you with someone that might know something, and maybe that would at least help bridge the gap, especially for a new faculty like you.
I see. Thank you very much.
I'd like to throw in, I think it all kind of also relates back to the story of, what existing NASA technology you're going to be able to augment, improve, and how it relates to, their roadmaps of going to the moon, going to the Mars, or exploring something else. This is all in that technology advancing realm. That part of that is the story. How does your specific thing will never be better than what NASA does, but it will definitely help. Because we don't want to upset NASA, but we do want to help, and I think it's your
see.
innovation there.
Okay.
Happy to meet with anyone that is interested. If I don't have the answer, I can, dig into the Rolodex of either industry or other faculty within CC, introduce you to those folks, to have opportunities to engage. Love to see a continual annual win by ASU. I think, I know Yong was one of 9. I'm not sure. I think roughly about the same. There isn't a lot of awardees, highly prestigious, as Faye had mentioned. And it's always good for us to see ASU in that list on an annual basis. We've been doing every other year for some strange reason, but let's try and make it annual.
Tough goals, but we like it. We like a challenge. We are Michael Crow tells us to love the challenge. I will say that some of you do Department of Energy, and Department of Energy also has an early career program that you might want to consider and review. It is way less stringent, so it's less prestigious, but it might be of interest. It is still an early career award and competitive. Don't get me wrong, it's competitive, but it's not as select as this. Something to look at. We've been meaning to do a kickoff for that too, and Quinn's nodding because he's in charge of that one, but I wanted to mention it. We have a little bit of time left, but I don't have to keep everybody here. I will say that everybody's very friendly, and you should email them if you have any questions. Most of the RD staff's also on the call, and so if you recognize anybody or want to follow up with anybody here, we can field your question as well. Okay. Anything else, Scott?
Yeah, one more thing. I believe the next opportunity, I think Keith had a different date, is early stage innovations. I believe that will be in April. That will be another lower TRL opportunity, different set of topics. Might end up having a kickoff around that. And then in June is the NASA Innovative Advanced Concepts. So if you have thoughts for things that are 20, 30 years down the road, those are kind of lower dollar, again, low TRL. And so we'll be soliciting faculty to participate in that in June, and also for the early stage innovation in April.
Okay, stay tuned for those. You're all excused. Go have a wonderful, what day is it? Wednesday. Have a good day, guys. Thank you so much to our
Thanks.
speakers. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, Scott.